The eternal city. I have seen the end of days, and years from now men will say, here began the fall of Rome. The Senate was taken from the many and given to the few. Those who wore the golden wreath grew sick with every kind of wickedness. They were filled with greed, deceit, and malice. They condemned and enslaved. They betrayed their friends and murdered those they loved. They did all this and called it just. And I saw in his hand a book sealed with 7 seals, the first of which was broken. And behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and he went forth to conquer. The air was filled with smoke and blood.
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Total War Attila. And before we commence any further, I would just like to say that this menu music is absolutely glorious. I love it. It's not kicked in yet, but when it kicks in, boy, it gets the blood pumping, it gets you in the spirit of things. I really enjoy it. Anyway, we're not here to muse over the menu music, I'm sure. So this first video is an introductory video to the series. I'm going to outline the faction that I'm going to play with and a couple of little other tidbits that might be of interest to you. So if you're looking for gameplay, I won't be commencing the gameplay until Thursday, a couple of days time, just to give me that little bit of extra time to get to grips with some of the new features of the game. There we go, we're just kicking in now, you see, we're just kicking in. Oh yeah. Feel the energy. I love it. Anyway, so Total War Attila, I haven't really read too much about the game. After the disappointment that was Rome 2, I refused to get sucked into any kind of hype. But from what I've read so far now, I have done a bit of reading the past couple of days. It's looking promising, so I'm really looking forward to this campaign, and it's going to be a little bit different for me as well. You'll see why shortly. So, on with the show. Let's go and let's start a campaign. Oh, I love it. So, a couple of things really. I checked out all the different factions and decided who do I want to play as. And two sprung out at me. The first one was the Western Roman Empire. Of course, in Rome 2 I started out as the Julia, pretty much conquered what they've conquered here. So it would be a decent way to kick things off here, wouldn't it? To try and defend the very empire that I forged in Rome 2. Well, legendary challenge, it's a new game with new features, and I hate starting Total War games with a massive empire. I like to build up from nothing. So that really made the Western Roman Empire not a tantalising prospect, it has to be said. Which then led me to my second option, which I thought was much better. The Saxons. Why the Saxons? Well, why not the Saxons? The Saxons obviously historically eventually moved across and settled down in England. It was the Saxons that were in power when they were toppled off their seat by King William the Conqueror, which is where we started Medieval 2 Total War as King William the Conqueror. So it's almost like we've gone a full circle. From Rome 2 we ended up with the Western Roman Empire, and here in Attila we say goodbye to the Western Roman Empire and then hello to the Saxon Empire, which leads us on back full circle to Medieval 2. I thought that was quite nice. So I'm going to be playing as the Saxons. And as we can see from their little blurb here, we have the faction leader is Guis, pronounced like Lewis probably, with a G. Religion is Germanic paganism, and we got a bit of a history here. So their distance from the heart of the Roman Empire shrouds the Saxons in a mystery, granting them the freedom to pillage and conquer as they please. While other barbarians fight over the scraps of the decaying Western Roman Empire, the Saxons look to its northern provinces, neglected and drained of troops. Britannia is an especially tempting target, having faced Saxon raids before, when the usurper Maximus commandeered its defences. Since then, the Saxons have continued to be a thorn in Rome's side. A series of fortresses, the Saxon Shore, has even been established to guard against them, a minor obstacle to a well-marshalled and determined Saxon kingdom. So we get a cultural trait of new kingdoms, which gives us a minus 50% to building conversion rate. And Saxon Shore, we get an extra plus 100 income for every 10% damage caused to settlements during a battle, and plus 4 integrity to our armies when raiding. Very nice. So that's who I'm going to be playing as, the Saxons. Now, in past Total Wars, people have been crying out for me to up the challenge a little bit. So this time, I'm going to give it a blast. Campaign difficulty I'm going to set to hard. I think this game, from what I've heard, is quite a little bit more challenging than Rome 2 was, so I could have even left it on normal maybe, but I am going to ramp it up to hard. I say ramp it up, but to just maybe knock it up a little bit to hard for the campaign difficulty. But it's the main thing that people wanted to see was the hard battle difficulty. They wanted to see me maybe lose a battle or two just to spice things up and give me a bit more of a challenge in the battle, in the battle map. So I'm going to be playing on hard battle difficulty as well. So hard. Let's get started. Just check this is all. That's the objectives. Advisor help, no thank you. Limited AI moves. Battle limit at 60 minutes. Let's kick things off.
The air was filled with smoke and blood. Rome was weak. The tribes grew in strength and number. roots went deep, and they felt the earth's blood pounding through the land. But their borders were threatened, for a great storm raged in the east. One by one, the tribes scattered as seeds in the wind. And behold, a red horse, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. The blood of their kin would be avenged. Great hunters, they tempered their blades in Roman blood, and saw their once mighty walls reduced to dust. They made ready for war.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the campaign map. Boy, oh boy, I can't wait to get this campaign kicked off, but before I do, I just thought I'd give you a bit of an introduction as to where we are, where we stand, and how I propose to play this campaign. So, here we are. We are the Saxons. Now, we are a barbarian bunch, and that's kind of new for me, because in all my previous Total War editions, I've played as the barbarian beaters. I like to beat down on those barbarian dogs. This time, the boot's on the other foot, and I am actually those barbarian dogs. That's another reason why I picked the Saxons, to get a different perspective from on things from previous Total War experiences, and I'm looking forward to it. So, as the Saxons, we start off in Tulliferdum, which is here, northern reaches of Germany. It is the capital city, or capital town, whatever you want to call it, of the province. So that's quite handy, because we can get a walled settlement to start with, giving us that extra bit of defensive capability. So that's our settlement. In terms of our armies, we have two armies, one led by Gewis, named the Brothers of Ice, and one led by another a general here, Hengist. More about these characters in a moment. So that is our two armies. Now, in terms of diplomacy, all of the people around us are neutral, so there's nobody immediately at war with us apart from the Western Roman Empire. Now, the Western Roman Empire is sort of down here and over in Britannia, so they're not that close, and they have other people to fight against before they get to us, so we're not too bad in terms of the political situation. Although if we do check on the political situation in terms of attitudes, you can see that a couple of the factions around here maybe not quite so positive in their attitudes towards us. Although they're not openly hostile, they might throw a thorn or two into our side if we don't keep an eye on things. But other than that, we're not too bad. So that leads me on to thinking about where do we want to go to start this campaign off. There's a couple of, well, there's about maybe 3 or 4 different options available to us, which is nice because it gives you a bit of variety, and you can take the campaign whichever way you see fit. So the first option would be to oust the Franks from Flevum. I don't think we're too happy with the Franks at the moment, so we can oust them from Flevum, give ourselves a bit more land, and we can start to look to solidify our holdings here in northern Germany. Whilst, with this navy and army here, maybe doing a bit of looting and pillaging and raiding along the shore of England, of Britannia, to boost our coffers. That would be quite an interesting way to start things off. Another way is we could perhaps turn our sights northwards, towards Viking lands, and start marching and capturing lands in sort of Scandinavia area. That's the second option. Third option is we could turn our sights south and take the fight directly to the Western Roman Empire and exploit perhaps their weakened state, their fringe lands and their under-defended borderlands here in this particular area, maybe even pushing further south if we get strong enough. It's another option. Or the final option, well, I say the final option, but the final option that I'm considering at the moment is we could do something like this. We could start a migration, abandon all our settlements, turn our armies into a horde, and up sticks and say, Tulliferdum, not quite happy with that location, let's start somewhere else. Go on a bit of a voyage and perhaps drop anchor in Scotland, for instance, and start to build up a base in Britannia instead, and maybe look to unify the whole of Britannia under the Saxon banner. So there's some possibilities. I'll have a think about it and I'll take some advice from you guys as to how we're going to start, but there's a few options available to us, and I'm looking forward to getting started. So that's that situation taken care of. That's where we stand. And in terms of how I'm going to be playing the campaign itself, I am very happy to see the return of the family tree. I like to create a bit of a story to my campaigns. I like to create a bit of a role-play aspect to it. And looking initially at how this works, it's looking very, very promising. So we have the family tree. These are my family members. We have my High King, Gewis, his youngest son. His daughter has married Senrad, so he's our son-in-law. So this is our immediate family. And the good thing about this is that our immediate family can interact with each other. And that is positive things as well as negative. For instance, we can have Senrad assassinate the leader. If certain roleplay features or certain things in the campaign developed in such that Senrad was beginning to become disloyal and was beginning to dislike Gewis for his actions or whatever he was doing, we could have this happen. He could become his retainer, look to him as a mentor. There's a whole host of different intrigues that we can do between the various family members, and that's great for creating a story behind the campaign. So I'm going to be looking forward to using all of these features to interact with the various family members to give a bit of extra spice to the campaign. Also, our nobles, we can adopt them into the family. We can assign them to offices, position of power here, as well as our family members. We can appoint them as governors of different regions. So again, more interaction, more stories can be developed. People can rise to power, and with that rise to power, whether they're loyal or disloyal or down to some of their traits that they develop, might lead them to helping the family or hindering. Of course, when these interactions occur, we are altering the various influences of the people. There's an influence number down here that will increase or decrease depending on what we do, and the power of the nobles versus the power of the family will affect the dominion. Political events that happen in the campaign will affect the control, and the two of those together affects the power. Too little power or too much power could lead to civil war. Now, I'm not going to be very gamey about how I go about balancing this. I'm going to create the stories, see how the players, how the people interact with each other naturally, and if it sways one way or sways another way as a result of that, we're going to go with the flow. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this develops in the campaign. So that's how I'm going to be playing it, sort of role-playing the intricacies of the interfamiliar relationships, and I'm going to be taking the campaign nice and steady, nice and slow, and enjoying the experience. And I'm looking to not necessarily steamroll my way to victory, but I'm looking to create a memorable experience and create a story to the campaign that will hopefully either lead to victory, or it might actually lead to defeat. And if it leads to defeat, that's not a problem, as long as we had fun getting to that defeat. Right, so to finish off, I would just like to say that if you want to have an impact on this campaign, then offer your pearls of wisdom. Over in my forums, I'm creating a War Council thread, the link of which will be in the description of this video, and if you've got any advice at all, whether it be advice about any upcoming battles or potential battle tips and strategies, any campaign advice as to where I should start, where I should go next, what I should do, what I should consider. Basically, you are my advisors. You are my advisors. There's a lot of features of this game that I haven't even got a clue about yet because I haven't had a chance to sit down and play it. So any tips, advice, strategies that you can come up with to assist me, feel free to leave it, because I'm going to be requiring your help to keep my head above water maybe in these early stages. And I look forward to reading your advice, and hopefully together we can create a memorable and fun campaign with the Saxons. So there you go. Join me on Thursday when I will be kicking off this campaign proper. I might even create a little bit of a backstory for the initial characters to give us a bit of flavour, and then we're off on our merry way, hopefully to Saxon glory. See you next time. Bye for now.